All right, so I want to continue where we were kind of at the end of part one. Bob, you got into really the mental aspect and thinking about, some of the shots that you left out there on the course. You don't think about necessarily the great shots. If you stuff one, with a wedge and, to tap in range. No, you're thinking about the 3 putts that you had. You're thinking about potentially the missed fairway maybe on, number 16 or whatever that led you to a bogey. And Doc, I'd like to bring you in on this too, because I do think that is something that a lot of people and a lot of athletes think about. It's not the ones that you make, it's the ones that got away from you. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts, Doc, on, is that the approach you should have? Should you focus on the ones that you did hit, or should you focus on the ones, okay, I need to correct that moving forward?
That's such a great question, Kyle. I'm glad you brought that up, because it is something that Bob and I have talked a little bit about, but we need to get more into. And it's something that definitely comes up with all my clients in all aspects of sports and life, for that matter. So my approach when we do that is what I call self-evaluation. So I think every great athlete and successful person has to constantly evaluate their performance. Otherwise, we're not going to grow. And we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. So we have to move the ego out of the way and really just look at the facts. So at the same time, though, we don't want to be completely negative, because our brain is hardwired to go to that negative place. It just is. We have to admit that. We're always looking for what's wrong. We're very critical of not just ourselves, but other people as well. So I have a simple process, and I hope parents are listening too, because these are great questions to ask your kids on those dreaded car ride homes after games and matches and things like that. Is real simple. Document in a performance journal what went well today and why. Because when you really think about it, a lot of things went well. So as Bob said, out of all those shots, he hit 99% of them really well. And his first thought was the 3 shots that didn't go well. So you need to ask yourself, what went well today and why did that happen? Because if you know why, you can do it again. And especially if you write it down, that's just going to ingrain it even further. And you can go back and read that. Like, I was playing really well last week. What was I doing? Oh yeah, this is what I was doing. This was the move I was thinking about. This was the feeling that I had when I hit those shots. And then ask yourself this question: what could I have done better and how will I fix it? Not what did I suck at today, but what did I do, well, and then what could I have done better? And what is the plan for me to go and fix it? And then deliberately set up a practice session to work on those weaknesses under pressure. And that's something that we continue to talk about is, celebrate the success, identify the areas of need, and let's just talk about a plan to fix it and go execute it and take emotion out of the equation. And I think when you do that and you're more objective, you're going to get more done, you're going to grow, and you continue to be successful.
So this is a perfect transition, because I find that fascinating. You have golfers who, I don't know, they'll be mic'd up for, an event like the Tiger Phil match, or something like that with Brady and Peyton Manning, and they'll have fun and they'll be relaxed and they'll hit some great golf shots, right? But it's a totally different demon once you're actually out there in tournament play and, that pressure and all that. But Bob, you said it, there's a difference between going and firing a 65, out with friends or out with Doc, and doing it, on the actual tour or in pressure situations. So I guess, how do you take, that mentality, the relaxed feeling of this is just another Tuesday round, whatever, and translate that to this is something where I need to hit shots. I need to make putts. This is a big deal.
Yeah. So, for me, it's continued growth for me. I don't think I'm there yet mentally, because, like, here's a funny story real quick about the round we play with Jason over at Red Run. I shoot 65, I make 2 3 putts, and he outdrives me 1 time. And
yes.
All I'm worried about, he's texting me and say, hey, we're going to play next week. I want to work on some stuff. And I'm going, heck, yeah, I'm going to join you, because guess what? I'm going to outdrive you on number 7, and then I'm going home. So like, these things fester in your mind, right? And with doctors' ability to calm me down, that's going to take me to the next level. So to answer your question, to kind of regress a little bit, I was kind of going on what you originally asked, Jason, but, I think that right now I'm not quite there. I did pass a big test a couple months ago by going down to Florida and playing with some friends and some other pro golfers. But I could find myself, as I call them, the birds in the cage. Mickey and I call them the birds in the cage, the little demons that are rolling around. They resurface under pressure. the doubting Thomases that you have in your brain. And they're certainly leaving the cage. The birds are flying out, but there's still a few too many that are in there. So to answer your question, Kyle, I'm going to get there. It's a journey, right? And I'm going to get there, and I believe I can get there. I just have to practice. And Jason said something to me after a couple rounds ago. I don't remember which one, but he said, you have to practice your mental preparation like you practice your chipping and your putting. And I never heard that before, where you have to put yourself in that situation. You have to practice that whole routine, that the way you're going to think about that, executing that shot, the way your body's going to move. Just, the mind just controls so much of the speed of the backswing and speed of the downswing and my over the top. And what he says is you really have to practice your mind game like you practice your full swing game. And that goes along with trust it and stay in the moment and many other things that just kind of like stick in your brain. That one really hit home.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
I'm going to jump on that too, because one of the things we talked about when he went down to Florida and played with some pros and what he's going to experience when he gets out there at Q School and on the tour and things is you have to have a competition plan. So when he mentions practicing your mental game, in addition to the visualization and concentration work we're doing in routines, it's to plan for the potential distractions that you're going to have out there on tour. So we talked about, like, what are you going to do when you're going out to your range session on the day one of a tour and you get media requests, you get kids or adults that want your autograph or want to talk to you or hear more about your story. You have to mentally prepare for those distractions, because if you're not ready for that, that's going to completely knock you off your game, because you're going to be so sidetracked and your blood pressure is going to go up. The way you walk is going to change, and that's going to change how you think. It's going to alter your focus. So let's talk about and visualize, what are we going to say and do when a little kid asks for an autograph or an adult wants to talk to you about how you lost all that weight and how you got here? So we plan that out a little bit. We still got some more work to do on that, but we talked about how Bob wants to make sure that every time he interacts with a person out there, he wants it to be a good experience for that fan. That's really important to him. And I think that's very admirable coming from a professional athlete, to know that your character is important and you want to leave a positive, lasting impression when you meet with somebody, because we hear so many stories about athletes that shove people aside or don't look them in the eye and things like that. And there are many great ones out there, don't get me wrong, but Bob wants to make sure that is a priority for him, but he has to mentally prepare for that, is what I'm saying.
So I guess, Bob, for you, what are the next steps, to get to qualifying to achieve your goal of obviously getting to, the Champions Tour, but then, you also want to perform, once you get there, but what are the next steps for you?
So Q School was supposed to be October, November this year. First stage they didn't have a first stage spot, but second stage was supposed to be in November at TPC Tampa, and everything got postponed because of COVID. So, which is good because I don't turn 50 till later this year anyway. So it gives me another year to prepare, at least 6 months to a year to prepare to get to the next spot. And by that time, physically and mentally, I should be raring to go. I mean, I'm hitting the golf ball further than I ever pretty much have. I'm hitting 7-irons and drivers, and doctors witnessed it. Physically, really, really hard, and mentally, I'm getting to the next level. So, Q School got postponed, but I can't lose sight of the goal here, right? So the journey, and I might go down and play some satellite tours down in Florida this winter just to kind of get my chops back. I'm being asked to play in a lot of money games, which I'm not sure. I've got to talk to Jason about this. Just to play in these money games, and it's good and bad, because at a local level, if I win, then I'm kind of like the scoundrel, but if I don't win, he's not good enough. So I've got to kind of battle those demons, Jason, and I want eventually you and I talk about that. But to get to the next level, it's a tour school or a 4-spot, as they call it. Back in the day when I was 4-spotting for the PGA Tour, where you go and Monday qualify and then get into the event. But in all reality, I'd like to get through Q School and get my status, and then go out there and show the world where the heck has this guy been.
Is there you talk about your why and why you want to do this, and Doc said you got to do this for you. That has to be one of the things that you do, but I got to believe there is a certain sense of you had to be one of the guys that made a decision to kind of step away, you know, and you had to go pursue other things and handle things in your life. Meanwhile, these other guys, you know, maybe they had a little bit more success. They didn't have to do that. You know, they stayed with it and stayed on. Is that something that kind of creeps into your mind? Like, you know, that kind of prove it, you know, thing for you, that you want to get on here and show these guys that you know, if you would have hung on, you probably could have done exactly what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm beating guys that have won the Masters. You know, I beat won U.S. Opens and PGA Championships and practice rounds by a significant number. And, you know, I've beaten guys that have won Masters in the last year, or senior guys that have won, you know, Masters in the last year. So, like, there's this, like, little thing in my head that says, wait a minute, you can still do this. Like, you can still prove, you know, to yourself and everybody else that, hey, you have the talent, you have the ability to, you know, separate yourself mentally from the herd. And so there's a lot of, the why for me is proving to myself that, hey, I should have been there, I should have done that. If I would have stuck it out, this is the lifestyle I should have had, or the you know, the influence I could have had on young people. So there is some, I know where you're going with that. You kind of want to, you want to hear, you know, I do want to needle some people. There's no doubt. I want to people, and I want to look them in the face and say, you know, welcome to the parade, and I want to walk down Main Street. But at the same token, I know that if I absorb myself with that, I'm not going to reach that level, because, you know, that can fester, right? So it's like those shots that, you know, when, you know, Jason outdrove me by, you know, we're driving up the fairway. He's like, oh, that's the longest drive I ever heard. And he gets there and goes, that's not you. You know, you're back there, right? So, like, those are the things that if I let that fester, it'll fester, right, until I reach my goal. Now he can outdrive me 300 times, and it doesn't matter to me. Now I know that I can, and I'll drive him, you know, multiple more times. So I've reached that goal. So, you know, to get back to where you're going, there are some people that I really want to, you know, I kind of want to put it in there, rotate it, you know, put it back in, and then rotate it a little bit more. If I let that kind of absorb my train of thought, I don't think it's healthy. And Jason, you could probably answer that better.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's. So Kyle, I want to jump in there for a moment, because I think it's really important what Bob said there. You know, he and I have talked a lot about this place we can go to sometimes called the dark side, and to use some of those slights that have happened to us. We want to stick it back to people and things like that for things they've said or things they thought about us and things like that. And I told Bob it's okay to go there every now and then, but it's not a place that we want to go to frequently. It's not a good place to live. So I don't have a problem with using those types of things as motivators for us from time to time when we really need it. But going back to what you mentioned earlier, Kyle, is doing it for yourself. And making sure we stay true to our sole purpose on what we're trying to accomplish for ourselves. And the outcome of that will automatically be sticking it to those doubters that said we couldn't do it, but let's not go there too frequently.
And obviously that's a difficult thing to do, because all of us golfers and athletes, you got to find certain cues, certain things that kind of get you going and all that. But Bob, just to kind of veer off course here, we do have the second annual Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Golf Club that's going to be getting started here tomorrow. Actually, round one will be. So if, you know, you can, I guess, were you able to play it last year when it was tournament ready? I know I played it just a few weeks ago, and the rough was already 3.5 inches. Apparently they want to grow it to 5 inches by the time that they get it going. It seems as though DGC wants to make sure that the scores maybe aren't as low as they were last year when Nate Lashley won it. Do you think that the same thing could end up happening here?
Well, unless they narrow the fairways down and grow it up. Really not a big defense out there for those guys, because everyone hits it so darn straight, and they hit it, you know, proximity to the hole is so close. You know, if they speed those greens out, you know, to maybe 13, 14, and they, you know, pinch everything in a little bit, then they should be right around 18, 20. We should be the winner. But I mean, like, I played out there a few days ago, and it was you know, if you're on your game, you can go really low there, because the greens are so pure, conditions are so good, but there's really no big defense out there aside from your brain.
Just to, there's no doubt, and those greens can definitely mess with you. Just to kind of wrap this up, I guess, because you talked about you at the age of 49 hitting it further than, you know, you ever have. You've gone on a dietary mission and focused on your body and being, you know, more of an athlete and all that. we clearly have seen a lot of these young pros focus a lot on their body, their diet, their workout regimen, their routine, all of that. How much has that changed golf? I guess being on the tour and being, in various capacities, the last 30 years to what you're seeing now with the technology and the way that these guys are torquing their bodies.
Oh, I mean, it's unbelievable because I never prepared like this physically. So, I was always in good shape, but I'd stick the peg in the ground, let's go play. But now I'm preparing to, physically to get to the next level. I see it's the difference is immense. I mean, you just step up to it. Your body reacts to your brain. You're seeing shots, and you can hit these shots that your brain's saying, okay, you can do this. But there is talk about having a tour golf ball. I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, but because the itself is what's separating these great players from hitting it so far, right? So they're talking about it. Actually, Colin Montgomery was saying a few weeks back about having a tour golf ball because the ball's just going so much further. I don't know if that's realistically going to happen because these manufacturers sell a lot more drivers than they do putters. So if Dustin Johnson hits the ball 350 yards with a TaylorMade driver, guess what? People go out and buy TaylorMade drivers. So there might be a little bit of a kickback there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, Bob, we really appreciate the time. This was an unbelievable 2-part interview. Certainly look forward to following your journey. You can follow Bob Krause, see him on Channel 4. You can follow some of his teachings and certainly look for him on social media as he continues his journey to get to the Champions Tour. Bob, we look forward to seeing it, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks. Good luck.